Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Shane and I'm delighted to be joined by Grigor Remling from Cepego, who's an MVP in Germany, who will be talking to you today about Azure policy with Azure Security Center. Remember to join the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC20. Don't forget to check out the Resource Center. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com and click the content link at the top. This week, 25th to 29th of May 2020, all week, join us for free Azure Learning Online from Microsoft, MVPs, and industry experts. See sharepointeurope.com for full details and more exciting content. After this webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you have in the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenter, Grigor Remling. Hello, Grigor.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, folks. So I think we can start into the presentation and I will go to my slide deck. So I hope you see it all well. Yeah, welcome to my presentation about Azure policy with Azure Security Center. So I call it like a little bit your cloud guards. So it's really helpful from many perspectives. And I hope I can give you a great overview and get good insights about how can you use Azure policy in combination with Azure Security Center. So before we go and I introduce myself, please go to the following link. One moment. I will place it in the chat. I hope you can see it.
Grigor, that's to me and you. I'm going to copy and paste it in so everyone can see it. Okay.
Perfect.
There we go.
One moment. And yeah, here we back. So you can also go to menti.com and enter the code here on the bottom. So because why this is a good overview. Give me a good overview how you confirm and how your experience is with Azure Policy and Azure Security Center, so that I can go deeper on this on one feature or to the other feature and make this webinar more valuable for you. Sorry. Yeah, my name is Grigor Remling. I'm a cloud consultant at the Cepego. So Cepego is a small a company here in Cologne, and we focusing on many topics from Azure, like Windows Virtual Desktop, Azure Infrastructure, Azure Governance, and we are also a great and big team in the Microsoft Security context. And yeah, my passion is more Azure infrastructure services like governance, IIS, and security. And when you reach me, you can reach me via Twitter. And I have also a blog. And I have a short introduction about the Identity Summit. So we plan our Azure Bond team plan a new summit in October. And with the Identity Summit, where we will be focused around all thing about Azure AD, identity management. So when you need future information about this, please join the Twitter channel. So I think this is enough. And so we're going deeper to the agenda. And yeah, I will first start with Azure policy, how it works, how the benefits are, and so on. Then I will going more to the Azure Security Center. How are your how these recommendations work, how this works with Azure policies, and I will show you how this works together. And at the end, we have a summary, and I hope a great Q&A where we can discuss future topics. Okay, so one moment, I will go out and check the Menti slide. Oh, slide is not active. This is not good. Why it's not active? Okay. I hope you see the other slide, but okay, perfect. This gives me a good overview about the security center. I hope you see this other slide now, and that you can also give some part of it. But yeah, so this gives me also a good overview, and I will start back and going to the slide deck. Yeah, so from the governance perspective, and I make many workshops in the past about governance topics with Azure. How can you start, how you define your Azure infrastructure, that you have a well-prepared infrastructure for your services, how you design the virtual networks, how did you make the connection things, and so on. And when you take a look about the Azure governance topics, you see here a short overview about the topics that we discuss in these customer workshops. And for this session, we have two topics that we will discuss, and one small topic. This is the management groups, and I will also give you a short overview in the slide deck about the management groups, because the management groups were really helpful for policy and for security center. But this is a topic for later. So this are the three topics that will be discussed in this session. But you see, there are many more topics from the governance perspective. But you can also take a look from the security perspectives, and you have other topics. And yeah, it's a really, I hope it's helpful for you to get a better understanding about this whole environment. Yeah, so we're going more to the Azure policy concept, and the policy are defined 2018 at the Ignite. 2017, I mean, was a private preview, and then they defined more and more services and more policies, and the release was at the end of 2018, I mean. Yeah, and what our policies are. So maybe when you are an infrastructure guy and coming more from the Active Directory side, you know about the Active Directory group policies, and you can assign group policies at organizational units to assign rules about the organizational unit, how server must functionality, how the Windows clients and Windows servers has existing functionality, and so on. And this concept you can migrate a little bit to Azure. So in Azure, when you with Azure policies, you can enforce rules for your own resources. So all resources that you create in Azure, you can make rules for it and can set it in a compliant mode. And yeah, this is really helpful, to get more a compliant and so also a secure environment. And it's helpful from many perspectives, like from cost management, from compliance board, and from connection strings, and so on. And yeah, this is the power from Azure policies. So I will show you more in the demo. And the focus from Azure policies can be from the tenant level down to resource group level. So you have many landscapes, and you can define a scope for every policy when you wish. The policy itself has three high words. The first thing is a definition. And definition is a set of conditions, and you can set the policy in audit or deny mode. This is really powerful to also more from the compliance mode. You can set, okay, I will only be checked is my environment compliant with Azure policy, and but all my users can create resources, can delete resources how they will, or you can make some deny mode. And a deny mode means that you set the policy in a deny mode, and when a user will wish to create a resource that is not allowed, they can't create these resources. Another topic or another word is the assignment. And the assignment is the policy that you assign the policy definition to a specific scope. And this is also a place, so because you can make scoping. I have introductions some minutes ago, because you can set the scope on each level of the hierarchy in Azure, because on the management group level, on the subscription level, or on the resource group level. And another really helpful thing is the initiative. This is a collection of policies, so that you can group policies to a big collection, that you get a bit better overview in your policy blade. So here you see the full possibilities that you have with Azure Policy. And you see, I have introductories. You have these policies are really helpful for enforcement and compliance mode. As there are many new features that are coming with Azure policies. You can use policies in virtual machines and this is called in guest policy, but this is another topic for a future webinar, I think. From the policy at scale, this is that they have introductions. You can set the scope level, and so for every policy you can define at which scope did you define this policy, and you can also set exclusion, so that you said I will define this policy for all my subscription, but I exclude some production resource group as example. You can also make remediation. This means when you have when you start later with your Azure policy, you can define your existing infrastructure get compliant with remediation task. This is also possible with policy. So, and how are the power from Azure policy? And this is to get more an understanding why policy are so powerful. There we have to make a short overview about the Azure architecture. So here you see the Azure architecture, and you see the Azure Resource Manager level. And this level is really helpful, because all things that you made, because with the Azure portal you need DevOps, you make a PowerShell script, all these snippets going to this level, to the Azure Resource Manager level. And the Azure Resource Manager, the ARM management will create the virtual machine, will create storage, will create network, will update the resources that you have defined with your via the portal or via PowerShell, whatever. And in this ARM level, in this ARM the policy engine are integrated. So that means when you make policy rules for your environment, every resources that you created will be checked via the policy, because the policy engine is integrated in the ARM management level. Yes. And this, I think, this makes the policy really important and really helpful. And so you get a little understand why the policy is so helpful for your environment. Here you see a little overview about how can you use the policies for compliance, for security, for tagging, and so on. And also here you see the cost management. This is also a really helpful example for the power of policies, and we doing this a lot of in the governance perspective. So you see here's the Azure Security Center. We're going a little bit later to it. My lovely topic is the tagging. So I love to use tags in the whole environment to define groups of services, to define the owner and the creator of some services, and you can use policies to get a rule that every resource have tags. And this is also helpful from the cost management, because tagging can help for cost management. And then you see here in the right that you can define allowed VM SKUs, so that you can also define for a production or for a development subscription that only some VMs are allowed, and this can be avoid cost for your environment. Okay, so we're going into a demo. I think this can get you a better understanding about this. I will take a look. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So here you see the Microsoft Azure blade, and I have defined more blades or more dashboards for every topic in my infrastructure. And for the policy, I have integrated this a small blade. So when you're going to the policy, you can type a policy here in the search bar, then you're going directly to the policy blade. And here you see directly on the first screen how your environment how is the compliance state of your environment. And here you see the compliance score. And this compliance score is scope based. This means that when you starting and going first on this policy blade, in the background, he will check how are your rights in Azure is, that you are a subscription owner. You see only the compliance board from your subscription, that you are starting this with a tenant owner or with tenant rights. Then you see all your 4 subscriptions and the overall resource compliance. The resource compliance and the rating based on all resources in your infrastructure and are based on these policies that you have defined. But there are some policies are available out of the box. So when we going here to the view all screen, you see more policies, and you see a difference in the graphic here. And this means this is an initiative. So keep in mind, an initiative is a collection of policy. And here, this is a single policy. You see this missing blade here in the back and the graphic. Yeah, and then you can see the compliance state for your whole environment. So you can going to the assignment, and when you go to the assignment, you can assign a policy. A policy means a single policy. When you go to the single policy, you can define the scope. I have introduced this. The scope level. Here you see the scope level, and this is the in the background based on the management group level. So when you doesn't have a management group level, management group hierarchy, then you see only the tenant root group, and you see directly your subscriptions. A little bit confusing here is that the hierarchy and the subscription are not shown here in this management group. You see this here on the subscription blade, and you can choose the subscription that you will wish. When you assign a policy directly to this tenant root group, you need additional rights, and you need rights in the tenant to apply policies. But when you will be apply policies to your subscription level, then you need only the owner right, or you can define additional rights via the airbag concept for your subscription, and then you can define the policy here direct. You can also going deeper to the resource group level to assign policy to a specified resource group. Okay, so I take my development subscription, I take select. Then you see you can set exclusions to exclude some resource group, maybe for production workloads, or the resource group, the network's resource group, because you doesn't will take effect any effects on your network or so on. Then you can set exclusions on this plate. So the basics here are we coming to the policy definition. So you can click into this, and then you see that out of the box, Microsoft has released more than 400 policies that you can use out of the box free from Microsoft or from Azure for your own environment. Then you will see here I have defined some custom policies, but you can also filter or search for some policy. For an example, use the string VM, then you see all policies that are related to VM level experience, so that you deploy a log analytics agent for every VM, that you audit VMs with a specified topic, or so on. You can also configure the backup and existing backups on your production workloads or whatever. You also, and this is a little bit helpful, is you can search for location. Then you can define the outload location. This is really helpful for your production workflow. So think you enroll some VMs, and you will that this VM is only available in a specified region. Then you can select this policy, going to the next, and then you can select the region that are only allowed from this policy and exclusive for your subscription or for resource group level. Yeah, so this is a short overview about the policy itself and about the dashboards. Here you see my compliance state, and now I will go back to the slide deck and show you how the policy works. So here we are. Yeah, how does it work? So you have seen the control plane, the Azure Resource Manager control plane on the graphic, and keep this in mind. And you have also seen the Azure policy plane that was integrated in the Azure Resource Manager plane. And when you going via the portal and you create a resource, or you take a PowerShell script, and the PowerShell script will take will create a resource or will update a resource or whatever, then this config request going to the ARM control plane, the policy is integrated in this control plane and will check the resource config request. They check it. Is there any policy available that I have that was appended to this resource config request? And then you see, okay, there was 4 levels in additional in summary 5, but 4 for the resource config request to allow it. This means that you can set the policy in a different state. So when I create a VM and I have forget the and I set it in a location or whatever, and I will only be monitor the locations that that will be used for my users for their own VMs. Then you can only take this in audit mode, and only the policy will check is all fine, or is this policy or this VM, this resource config request in a compliant state. You can also get appending. This means you have you define a VM, or you create a VM in your production workload, and the user forget to place the backup for the VM. Then you can say, please take additional backup solutions to this VM. This is also the same, but in another state with the deploy if not exists, or with audit of not exists. You can also make it possible that when the VM will be created, that additional configuration steps will be made, because to integrate the VM in a monitoring, to create the backup level, and so on. And this can you also be set via the policy. Because when you create as a resource config request, the Azure policy check, is this compliant with your policy, check this 4 states, and then the policy will be created and you have a cloud resource in your Azure tenant. this is only be in the compliant or in audit mode. So this also shows the whole and functionality from the audit mode perspective. But there are additional a second aspect, and this was the deny mode. So when we going a little bit a step back, then we also will be create a resource in our Azure tenant. We create this via the policy. The policy check, is this resource compliant with my policy rules? And then they say, see, oh no, I have a policy setting, policy rule that doesn't allow to create a resource with or without tagging. And then the user, the policy will check this, and then they see I have a policy rule that doesn't allow to create resources without tagging, and then the policy, the resource will doesn't create in the portal. This is the deny state here that you see, and this is also the whole the 5 states of policy that you can define additional. So you can additional make an append, that you create any and append it. You can deny policies, or you can deny creation of resources in your tenant because you have a compliant state or compliance security posture for your production subscription and so on. And these are the 5 states for this. So we're going back to the policy blade and to the demo center and how this works. So we have the assignment. I have introduced this, and here you see all my policies. And I have made an initiative for my governance settings for all my tenants, because these settings must be hold for all my tenants, for all my subscriptions, for all my resources. And when we taking a look at this, sorry, this is or we going to the definitions, to the set of definitions that we seeing the policy inside the definition, the collection of the policy. And here you see that I have defined for my whole environment, for my whole tenant, a group of policies that I have defined that the resource location matches some defined rules, because I will only have my resources in West Europe, North Europe, in Germany, and so on. But this is also only in audit mode. So I have for my whole tenant the possibility to enroll services in another locations, like in US or so on, basically, because some early features are only available in US or in the big regions, and this is this is why I setting here only the audit mode. And because when you set policies on a high level, start with audit mode. I have some modify mode. Here see is another state, so that I say when I have forget to tag some resources, that a remediation process will going and will use the tag on resource groups and affect this resource group tags to my resources inside the resource group. And this is why I set the require a tag on resource group in a deny state. And how does it means? I show this here. So we create a new resource group. I give it a name, and my ESP-C20 webinar resource group. I take a location like West US, West Europe. I go into the tagging, and now you see I can define the tags for my resource group. But I will leave it here, and going back, you see the validation is passed, and now I see I say please create the resource group. And now you see it doesn't allow to create a resource group. And the ground why is here. You see in the raw error, and this is a little bit not user friendly. I mean, you see in this code require a tag on a resource group. So I can't create resource groups in my environment without tagging. So I can, and this is also a gone. So I will go more to the next step in additional on the time, from the time perspective. Here you see additional policy definition structure. So you every policy that you have seen, and we have more than 400 policies are available right now, are all related on GitHub. So you can go into GitHub, you can search for policy definitions and so on. And all policies are based in JSON. And you can create your own policy when you missed some features, or you say, I will make a bigger policy with my own ideas or whatever. Then you can go to GitHub, or you can define this policy with your own definition based on JSON. And it's really easy, so you can take a look at the portal. There you see all the definitions from the policy itself, that you can copy the policy definition for your own. Out of the box, I have seen you have more than 400 policies right now. There are many more available right now at the GitHub policy. And here you see the link, and at the bottom to the policy GitHub page from Microsoft. And here you see some rules and settings for your tenant scope. Okay, I think this is a short overview of our policy, and you see there are many more aspects from policy side to define policies, to strengthen, to use policies in additional topics from the subscription level or whatever. And I think this is really helpful to start with policy. Please start with policies when you doesn't use it now. It's really helpful to get your compliance board, or to get your environment in a compliant state. So we take a look at the Azure Security Center. And the Security Center is also really helpful, because this service helps to strengthen your security posture for your whole environment. The Security Center is available in 2 tiers, in the basic and the standard tier. And the basic tier is available and free per default for all your subscriptions. So when you create a subscription in the backend, Azure Security Center will be activated for this subscription in the free tier. This Security Center works also based on a security score. Did you have seen the compliance score on the policy blade? And this is the same for the security score in the Security Center. And the Security Center is available for all your workloads and for all your resources, like server, containers, IoT, and many more. And the Security Center has also many possibilities from the security side, with threat protection and many more. How this works, firstly, I have introduced, you can use the Azure Security Center to get an overview about your environment. How secure your environment is. Did you use NSGs? Did your VMs are secured? Did you have open ports or whatever? And then another additional topic of the Security Center was the threat protection possibility. So you can see how this how did you have threats on your servers, on your SQL servers or whatever, and this will be showing in the Security Center, that you can see when you have some security breaches into your environment. Here you see a short overview, and this is only here from the graphic perspective. You see the whole services that you can manage and secure via the Azure Security Center. So I think a better overview you can give with a demo. So I will go into the demo, and we see, one moment, the wrong browser. Here is the right, and I'm going back to my portal blade, and here you see my secure score, and I can take a look at my secure score, and then I see my policy and compliance overall secure score. And you see this is also filtered on my subscription level. So when I change, I have set this for all my subscriptions. Keep in mind your role and your rights on your Azure environment. When you start this with tenant rights, you see all your subscriptions. When you start this only with a subscription owner, subscription contributor level, then you only see the secure score for your subscription. So I can change this, and then you see that the secure score will be changed. So on this, now you see the secure score for only one subscription. You can go to review this, and you see this. I have which subscription has the lowest score and so on. This a little bit yeah, and then you can go to the recommendation. And when we go to the recommendations, you see all the recommendations that are available for my subscription, or you can also filter to the whole environment that you see all your subscription, and you see what can I do to get a better secure score. So you see my secure score is really low, and to get a better secure score, I can define here some tasks. And you see, when I enable MFA, I get 10 points more, and this makes a really great jump into for my secure score. So we can go here to secure management ports, and you see that I have some virtual machines that they doesn't protected via NSG. And this is really helpful to get a better overview. So because it's really helpful and best practice to use NSG in your whole network environment, additional for production workloads. And when you here see, we are in my production subscription, and I doesn't have set or created NSGs for some of my virtual machines. You see remediate security configuration and more, and you can see here install monitoring agent on your virtual machines. This is also helpful. Here you see another graphics for some VMs, and this means that I have 3 servers that based on Azure Arc, and these servers are also a part of my Azure Security Center recommendation. You can see the status of your system updates. Did you use encryption and so on? And this is also based on the Security Center. Okay, we will go take a look back. One moment, I will show you here more. Sorry. Yeah, and here you have as a one moment. Sorry for that. So here you see the overall secure score, and you see the recommendation. And I have set some recommendation. You can activate this. So you see here the NSGs. You see additional topics from the Security Center and so on. And all these recommendations are free of charge. So you can use this recommendation free in your tenant in your environment. So, and how this works together with the Azure policy. And this is really easy. So when we're going back to the policy blade, here you see my policy. I'm going to view all. And now you see I have 4 AC default subscription scopes. And this means when I create a subscription, in the background, Microsoft create an additional initiative for this subscription. So, and the overall secure score in the Azure Security Center based on the Azure policy that are defined by default when you create a subscription in your tenant. So you see, I can say, see you this here. I have 4 subscriptions in my environment, You see, this is the for subscription, and you see that I have 4 AAC default initiatives in my Azure policy blade. And these are the policies that are set for my Azure Security Center. So when we're going back to my Security Center, the complete the complete overall secure score based on these policies. So you see the Security Center is based on Azure policy recommendation. And this is really helpful to know it. So you can set your own policy. You can set policy in your own for the Security Center recommendation. This is also really helpful. So please keep in mind, when you see your secure score here, this is based on your Azure policy. And in the background, when you create a subscription, Microsoft creates an initiative with a collection of policies, and this is helpful, or this will be based as a basic solution for your security center and for your secure score. Okay, I will going back to the slide deck. Why? So I have give you I have say that it's really helpful to use Azure Policy and Azure Security Center with management groups. And how was management groups? So here you see a company like the European SharePoint Conference, and they have an Azure tenant. And they define the websites and the workloads and the webinar saving, and also in a production subscription. And this production subscription has really strengthened security posture. And then they have development subscriptions. They can evaluate and develop some solutions for the website or for the webinar saving or whatever. And to define different policies for these different solutions. So maybe you need in the development side not so high security and more free using of services, and more better using of some locations and whatever, as in the production subscription. And with the management group, you can create groups for your subscription. So you can create, this is the tenant root group. This was every time enabled by default in the tenant, because it's the root group of your tenant. And under this root group, you can create additional management groups. And these additional management groups are grouping subscriptions. So you can say, I have a development management groups, and all my subscriptions, they are related to development and evaluation stuff, going to this management groups, and has another policy as my production management group. And so I can create a production management group, and this management groups contains all my production subscriptions. And I can define that in my production subscriptions, or in my production management group, all my subscription and all my workloads need enabled backup, need enabled monitoring, need enabled Azure Security Center standard, and so on. And so I can define a policy from a hierarchy definition for my complete tenant and for my subscription level. And this is really helpful. But this is only a short overview. So keep in mind, you can create management groups to get a hierarchy in your Azure tenant to group your subscription and to manage a policy for a whole set of subscriptions in your environment when you have more than 1, 2, 3 or more subscriptions. Okay. So how it works together? Yeah, you have seen the Security Center recommendation based on the Azure policy. And the secure score is within a result of Azure policy settings. So you have seen the recommendation from the Azure Security Center, and this is also based on the Azure policy. And all policies that are available for your Azure Security Center are in a audit mode. So from the Security Center perspective, there are no policy available that will be enrolled with deny mode. All policy are per default in an audit mode, so that you can make all what you wish in your environment, but the policy and the Security Center only shows the result of this. The last topic for today is using custom security policy in Azure Security Center. So you have seen we have Azure policy, and in the background for Azure Security Center works Azure policy. And this is really helpful because in the past 3 weeks ago, Microsoft released the possibility to use custom security policy in Azure Security Center. And now we're going to the demo that I can show you this. So keep in mind, we're going to the Security Center. Here's the overall secure score. And you see many settings here on the left side. And when we're going to the security policy blade, we see a policy management. And then you see my management group structure for my whole environment. So I have defined only one subscription. I will enable all subscriptions that you see this in the whole feature. Yeah, now so you see I have a management group hierarchy, and I have defined different states for my subscription. I have a whole MVP environment group, and this is a part of 2 groups because I have defined a development group and a production group. And here you see I have assigned the subscription to each of this group because my development and my V4D subscription are for development stuff, and my MVP production is for production stuff. So how this used together? So I can going to one of this scope. This is a scope from the Azure policy view. You have a scope to set your policy, and you can click on this. I take the MVP production, and then you see effective policy. And in this blade, I can set my own policy that I have defined in the Azure policy view, that I can assign my custom initiatives. Here you see it. I can set it here. And this is really helpful. Why? When I set here a custom policy like the basic VM rules that I have defined, this will be shown here. You can delete it. And what will be placed is when we're going back to the Security Center, to the recommendation blade, you see all my recommendation, and then you see a new area. This we called custom recommendation. And here you see all my recommendations that I have made in my own are also seen under the security score under the security scanner. So I can define my own policy that I'm working together in my whole environment and will be seen in my security center. And this is really helpful from the security perspective. So from a compliance board, I can say in my environment, in my company, I say I have a compliant compliance state. So I will release that all my resources in my tenant are compliant, and then I define some recommendation for this. And then I say, for my securities team, I will assign additional rules that they can say and check together that we are in a compliant state. And so I can say I use a custom policy in my Azure Security Center to get my company in a compliant state, in a secure state. Right now, this is only will be shown as custom recommendation. You can't set points for this, but this will be coming in the next time. And yeah, you can't enable some some additional tasks for it. So when you take a look at one moment, remediate, where we had, no, it doesn't fit any, here. Here you see when I have some easy low-hanging fruits, I will call it, then the Azure Security Center says I can make a quick fix and the web application is only be accessible via HTTPS. I can click here quick fix and then I see which of my resources are affected. I can click on all or can select one of this. I can say remediate and then the Security Center try in the background to set my web application in a secure state or that they only be accessible via HTTPS. So when I going back, this is not possible right now for the custom recommendation, but it's coming. I saw. Yeah. This is really helpful from the perspective. I take a look at the time. Additional information is here on the pricing and settings. So I have you have there are two different tiers available for the Azure Security Center. This was the free or the basic or the standard tier. And the basic tier is right now enabled by default for all subscriptions. And the standard tier you can enable here via the pricing settings. You can select one of this subscription, and then you see the difference via the free or the standard tier. And then you see that you have some additional services included into the Azure Security Center for your subscription. One moment, I'm going back to this one, yeah. And when I take a look at the standard tier, you can also select for which of these services into your subscription you will enable the standard tier. And then you can also select for all your VMs or not, or for all your app services or whatever. And so you see the pricing, and the pricing will be available or will be monthly based. But the service that I have shown you are all available in the free tier. So keep this in mind and start with a look at the free tier to get a better overview of your security posture and to get a better overview about your compliance state into your environment. So we're going back to the policy. And you see here my overall resource compliance board. And keep in mind, the resource compliance board based on the policies that I have defined in this policy blade. When we take a look at the Security Center, this is another view of my resources with another policy setting. And this is a difference from my complete policy setting. Okay. So I will going back to my slide deck. Yeah, here we are. So here a little recap of my policy. And I see this is a lot of topics in a 1 hour session. And yeah, the policy really powerful solution to define cloud guards for your own tenant. So start with the policy. Start this policy to define compliance state in your environment. To say I will need or I will set tagging in the whole environment. I will that all my production workloads needs and backup and so on. But when you start this policy, please start first with in audit mode, that you see how this affected your whole environment. And then at a later point, when you have some experience with the policy, set the deny to take effect or some deny states for your environment. Really helpful for this is to create some management group when you have more than one subscription to group your subscriptions. And this must not be from development and production state. When you have a big company, it can based on location, on regions or whatever. So need or take some time to define a good structure about management groups for your whole environment. Deny effect is really helpful, but keep this in mind. When you set deny, this can cause some trouble in your environment. So please start first with the audit mode. Creating initiatives, a collection of your policy, can you start with single policy? So when you have a single policy, like you will define your basic governance, then you can say, I make an initiative, basic governance, and I say I set or I take place one policy in it. But in a later point, some weeks ago, I say I will another additional policy set to it. You can also assign an additional policy to this initiative. So start with initiatives directly. And integrate the policy and the compliance board in your regularly Azure check. So make every monthly a check about your environment to check is your compliance state helpful and your environment compliant. The Security Center is also a big topic, and you see we can make a whole day about these two features in your environment. And the Security Center you have seen based on the Azure policy in the back. But it gives you a more security overview about your whole environment. You see, did you need NSGs? Did you have keyword in place? Did you have unsecure open ports like management port, RDP, or SSH or whatever? And this you can see directly with the Azure Security Center with one click. So please, another keep in mind, check also this regularly, monthly based or whatever with your cloud team to see is your environment in a compliance state and what did you have for some security aspects for your environment. Use the Azure Security Center also as a proof of concept for your infrastructure. So when you doesn't start right now with the Azure Security Center, take a look at it. Take a look how this Security Center works, how this, what recommendations are placed in it, and see that you can make more secure into your posture. And yeah, integrate this also in your Azure policy regularly Azure check. Yeah, here I have some links about the policy, so you get the slides some minutes later. And some good additional channel here is the security community channel. So they get you many webinar series. You can also go at the European SharePoint webinar series. There are many blog posts about the whole and policy settings, about management groups and so on. So keep this in mind and search about a little bit. I will share this slide deck later that you can start with some of these links to get more information about the policy, about the Security Center, or how it works together. Yeah, when you have questions, please do this into the chat right now, or when you have additional questions at a later point, reach me via Twitter. So I will take a look at the chat.
Hey Gregor, thanks for a great presentation. Yes, we will now start the questions and answers part, and should you wish to ask a question, please type it into the questions window now. Okay Gregor, we're nearly out of time, so I have one fairly lengthy question, so bear with me as I read it out to you, okay? Here we go. If I trigger remediation actions to the Security Center, e.g. installing monitoring agents on my VMs, can they only be applied to VMs created in certain ways or from certain images? For example, if I have Ubuntu VMs in my subscription, do I need to have certain RBAC configurations applied to those before RBAC will work or before remediation will work?
You can also you can only set a deny mode, but you can but helpful for this is the Azure Policy Gust configuration blade to enable this into your for your Azure VMs. in place right now. When you create a VM without a backup or whatever, you can, when you're creating the VM, then you can set a policy that will be applied, the backup agent or the monitoring agent. With the remediation, you can this made possible for existing VMs. But when you set a deny mode into your environment, this doesn't affect existing resources. The deny mode will only be affected new created resources that will be denied from creation, but this will not affect existing resources. So I think for this is better to go with the Azure Security Azure Policy Gust configuration.
Great. And Grigor, for anybody watching on demand, they can reach out to you at the contact details that you have on screen.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, on behalf of the ESPC community, thank you, Grigor, for taking this time today to complete this webinar. We really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. And I think this was many topics, and I hope this gives you a good overview about all of this. And please reach me later via Twitter. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much, Grigor. Very much appreciate it. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's webinar. Please see sharepointeurope.com for further details on all upcoming webinars, or you can visit our resource center, as Grigor mentioned, where you can find all previous episodes. Again, a big thank you to Grigor Ryming, and thank you for joining us today. Take care and goodbye.